joins us now to talk about that. Hi Basant, Happy New Year to you in advance. What's the theme that you're telling retail investors to adopt in 2016?
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning. From mad bulls, we have all become sad bulls. So 2016 tells us that we got to follow the same strategy, hide behind the sand bunker, look for places where you find growth. It's not a buy across the market concept. See, when it's winter and it's freezing, you got to be in the Eskimo with his igloo rather than try and be under the sun with the polar bear. So I think we're going to have another grinding 2016, at least the first half. Again, I say the same thing because we don't want to say 2016 second half would be bad. We say we don't know. But right now, there are no signs of recovery. But 2-3 things are happening which should make us think that the second half of 2016 could be better. That's again conjecture at the moment. One is the power ministry, the road transport, and to some large extent railways and defense. But we'll cross the bridge when it comes. For the moment, it looks tough. I think going for the themes, the old favorites, the dull and boring, housing finance, consumer finance remains there. The Midcap Pharma, where you sell mostly to US and where the B2B space, that's the theme. And one theme which I've been looking off late is the Internet of Things concept. I think this concept should be very big over the next 5 to 7 years. If I can just take you around, there's a report which says about 30 billion devices with unique IP addresses would be connected by 2020. And about $500 billion online business transactions would happen in the B2B space and the B2C space. And if you look at it this way, the entire market is, 2 days back, Reliance Jio was launched. And I remember in 2003, there was a tagline which used to say, Kar lo duniya muthi mein. I think with the smartphone around, in 5 years, the smartphone will become the apt representation of how you can take the world in your hands and do the Kar lo duniya muthi mein. So I think Internet of Things could be a big thing to watch out, both in the private as well as the public space.
Okay, hi Basant, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, let me look at more, smaller themes, less explored themes. Among the surprise performers were actually a lot of chemical companies. SRF performed, Naveen Fluorine, Naveen Chemicals. These were the kind of stocks that did very well in the last couple of quarters. Are there some undiscovered gold mines in that space?
SRF and Naveen both are basically they went up on the CRAMS space. It's not a recommendation. We're just discussing stocks.
Okay.
They both went up on the concept of CRAMS, and on the CRAMS space also there are several concepts. I mean, it's a broad theme of the pharma segment. So either you can make the molecule over here, or you can do the online, or you can do the research from here. So SRF, Naveen Fluorine, PI Industries. Just not a recommendation, obviously. So they're all in the CRAM space. They did well. It's a broad sense of the global outsourcing theme, whether you can do it from pharma or you can do it from anywhere else. So that is how it is. See, pockets like these would always be there because there are 6,000 listed companies, and for a person to get 5, 7, 10 companies out of which 8 or 9 could perform well, that's not a tough job. But buying across the market 20, 30 companies and then hoping to do well, that's the thing which I think would be tough in 2016 again, at least for the first half.
Okay, the space to be in 2015 was some of the mid-cap pharmaceutical names. So, names like Aurobindo Pharma, Wockhardt had a great performance this year. You continue to be bullish on that space? And if yes, what are the stocks to look at?
Super bullish. I think in the pharma space, you have to look at companies. There are 2 ways of analyzing. I mean, a broad theme for a retail guy out there who is looking at it. Try and buy companies that are selling mostly to the US market, because once you sell into US, you are expected to have a certain amount of quality in your products, right? So if you are selling quality products, if you are FDA approved, then you can charge higher also. If you're selling to African countries, then you can get away with a little bit here and there also. So if your company has been US FDA approved or WHO approved, then you have a sense that this company is for real, and the things that they're doing should make money over the longer period of time. So that's a very broad sense out of that. See, in pharma, you can play anything. You can play anti-malaria, you can play anti-AIDS, you can play anti-hepatitis, and you can say there's so much of pain and suffering, and it's wrong for us capitalists to make money out of pain and suffering with people going ill. But that's how it is. I mean, I think mid-cap pharma, small-cap pharma, large-cap pharma would be a space to be in 2016. And with the Fed increasing rates, the same old concept, Fed increasing rates and the RBI looking to decrease rates, obviously it's dollar bullish. So dollar can stay for a while, but then ultimately it's dollar bullish. So I think mid-cap pharma is a space to be, sure.
So mid-cap IT as well?
No, I mean, mid-cap IT is good enough. But the point is, if you're wanting to make 15-20% returns, that's okay. But the days of IT, of making big returns, I think are behind us. I think Internet of Things is the new thing which we have to see. Not too many listed companies there, few in the private space as well. But I think that's the theme which is just evolving. And I think over the next 2, 3, 4 years, that should become exponentially huge.
Okay, well, we need to take a mandatory break. So let's do one thing. Let's resume this conversation on the other side of the break. Basant, just stay with us. We'll be back in a bit.
CNBC TV 18, celebrating 16 years of business leadership.
Welcome back. As promised, we resume our conversation with Basant Maheshwari, founder of the Equity Desk. He's been telling us about the themes that you should look forward to in 2016. Basant, in the break, Lata and I were just having this discussion about how Governor Rajan has now put stricter norms on NPA recognitions for banks, has, come out with some faster transmission rates to the banking system, etc. What's your view on how to approach private sector banks? Is it a good time to buy some of these beaten down names like ICICI Bank?
No, not the beaten down names, the old favorites. The fully priced private sector banks look better than the apparently cheap ones, because a bank, you got to be, it's the same boring names in that space, because in the beaten down names you're not too sure of the asset quality, and banks are valued by how much they can recover as well as how much they can make, not just by how much they can make. So Lata knows this more than anybody else. I mean, we go with the problem there, if you can call it a problem, is they're priced well, so they won't give you outsized returns. They'll give you the standard 20-22% CAGR. The growth from 30% types is coming down, so that's one thing we have to take. But in this market, if you have a large cap liquid name that can give you 20-22%, that's, I think, a good bet. So that is how it is. And let me tell you, if the Nifty goes back to 8,800 or 9,000, I'm not saying it's going to go back, but if it goes back, the outperformers will be the banks with bad assets, because that's how it happens all the time. But then, you want to play this game for a longer period of time rather than just for a quick 2-month punt. So that is how it is. So if you're betting on the Nifty going back to 8,500, 8,800,
What about NBFCs? They are likely to have another avenue of selling because of the payment banks. And actually, even those digital companies...
Payment banks.
Yeah, their loans can be sold through the payment banks. Payment banks themselves can't give loans. They don't have the authority. As well, the digital market space, the Flipkarts and Snapdeals are actually tying up with NBFCs to give loans for both their consumers and their sourcing entities. Is there a new dawn for NBFCs? Is that a theme at all?
No, that's a theme, and NBFCs with niche businesses should do well. But I think the times where, payment banks, they would, people who got those licenses, they can cause some disruption in the overall setup. Like, I see you mentioning this quite frequently, and I would concur with that. But, we can look at our own ways, and you can buy your own stocks and say, okay, these companies won't be affected, because Flipkart won't be giving home loans, so Flipkart would be giving consumer loans. So that's how it is. So you find your own segment and do it that way. See, let me...
No, I'm asking you if NBFCs will therefore have a new market, or a new avenue to sell.
Absolutely. And there also, you have to see the e-com market in India. Most of them are bleeding and they're losing money. I'll give you a small anecdote. Just allow me 1 minute for that. In the great California gold rush, where people were digging for gold, the guys who sold pickaxe and shovels made more money than the guys who were digging for gold. And Levi Strauss came up with the brilliant strategy of having a thick clothed pant called the jeans. So that is how it was invented. So whether Flipkart makes money or not, whether Snapdeal makes money or not, we can all debate. So the big theme should be around these players, about the guys who are catering to them, and that's how it is. So NBFC, like you said, falls in that classic case where Flipkart could be discounting something more than what it should. But if I've got my customers there, if I can find out their habits, whether they are paying back or not through analytics, and then I'm through with that. So to that extent, of course, that's how it should be.
Oh yes, that's a very well put analogy. I mean, Levi's was one of the big beneficiaries of the California gold rush. But that's all the time we had. We would have loved to chat some more. It was great speaking with you, Basant. And once again, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us. With that, it's a wrap on Bazaar. Chartbusters is coming up for you next. Stay tuned.
CNBC TV 18, celebrating 16 years of business leadership.